Pace note system. That's when they write their pace notes.
Yes.
All the corners they grade a number from 1 to 6. 1 being the slowest, which is usually what we call a hairpin.
Okay.
Hairpin left or hairpin right. And 6 for us would be a max. So
you use what gear on 6?
The fastest you have, the top gear.
Top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The numbers could be the gears, or the numbers just could be the angle of the corner. It depends on the driver. You know, pace notes are actually made by the driver. The navigator just writes. So when you're doing your recce, you're coming down the road, and the driver says, this is a 2 left. So you put on your notes 2 left. So when you do the rally, this is what you'll read to him. So what Martin Yaveova very heroically was doing at the pace of 160, 170 was, you know, can you imagine keeping cool doing that and with the terrain coming at you at 140 k's?
Kego is actually a navigator, so he knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. I'm in safe hands. So if you tell me, I know, okay.
But very difficult. You can imagine
yes.
You're holding your book.
Yes.
You're reading the note, and then you're using your your fingers and your hand to gesture to the guy, because the intercom that they usually use, probably something that happened.
So very difficult for the navigator or for the driver of both.
Impossible for the navigator. This is a guy who's got experience, very cool under pressure. You know, things in the rally car happening rather fast.
Oh, definitely.
And so you can imagine, I don't know at what point they realized the intercom was not working, but I shudder to imagine if it happened within the stage, where you're suddenly reading, then suddenly the driver tells you, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. He taps his helmet, you know, and so then you have to straight away go into
sign
language mode. Which is, that transition for a navigator is not easy at all, and especially at the speeds they're doing.
I thought it's harder for the driver because he has to concentrate on the road and also with the tail of his eye, spy on what his navigator is telling him.
And that's why he was using, was it his left hand?
Yes.
So that it's almost in front of him, you know. He was going, you know.
Okay.
Very, very difficult.
So
very
that can distract a driver.
It can, but if that's the only way you know you're getting your directions, then you have to concentrate.
So is it harder for the driver or for the co-driver?
I think it's impossible for the navigator. It's completely nuts, you know. It's completely nuts. And if I was watching that clip, and he was so cool, he could have been eating dinner at home quietly with his kids. So cool. The blood they have is almost antifreeze, you know. They are completely cool. The car is at 180 over Kenyan roads, and you're reading notes, you're giving pace notes with your fingers. Yes. And the driver is equally cool. He's full confidence in your ability. And that's a team that, you're seeing a team that is hours of practice together. You know, they have made contingency for this exact thing.
The chemistry there is
exactly.
surreal.
And they lost only 11 seconds.
They lost only 11 seconds.
Only 11 seconds.
It's a lot. Chunk.
It's a lot. But you saw on Ott's face how he smiled. And Ott, he doesn't smile a lot.
No.
Ott looked at Martin and smiled and gave him the thumbs up that, you know, you've done a really good job. Because that was completely impossible.
There they are. Actually, if you look at it on your screens now, there is the sign language you're talking of.
Look, and he's holding his book.
Yes.
He's reading the pace note, and then he's giving the note with his fingers. It's completely.
And he's raising his hand up to a point
to
where
make sure that the driver doesn't his eyes don't leave the road too much.
Yes. And he's not raising it so much as to distract the driver. But he's still raising it quite high.
Exactly.
So it's there you go. Look at that.
This is.
And they're flying.
Look at it. Look at it. This is incredible. These are professionals doing what they know how to do. Completely amazing. We were in the co-pilots group. Everybody was like, "Wow, hats off to this guy, man! Hats off to this guy."
Just now on WhatsApp?
Yes. We have a co-pilots forum.
Okay.
Yeah, and people were like, "Hats off."
So you're navigators. You call yourselves co-pilots. Yes.
Co-pilot forum. Mostly East Africa, Greater Africa, but we have people there from all the rest of the world. And of course, people are watching, and they were like, "Wow, you know, amazing." Completely cool. There's no argument. There's no discord. He's just using his fingers to show out the route.
And there's no despair.
Yeah,
like,
nothing.
Okay, we had a messed up day yesterday.
Completely cool.
And now look what's happening today. Let it stay.
This is what it takes to be a top flight rally driver. You have to be cool in the face of all sorts of problems.
It's proper professionalism.
Amazing. Good job.
Courage under fire.
Yeah.
And that's them.
Amazing.
I mean, they're flying.
Yeah, they're not going slowly.
They're not going slowly.
11 seconds lost to Kale, and Kale is not driving slowly. So, big up to Martin Yaveova. He has really done a good job there. Amazing job. And at the end of the stage, you could see the smile on Ott's face.
Look at that pace.
Yeah, well done, my
Just
friend.
look at that.
Yeah.
Broken intercom.
Yeah.
So the communication between the driver and his co-driver is completely
hear my voice.
finished. You
You can't hear the voice. Look at the end. How happy he was at him. You know, can you see Ott smiling?
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah. And
Yes,
even he's smiling because he knows what kind of job he did.
Scott Martin puts in a smile.
Martin Yaveoja.
Martin Yaveoja, yeah, puts in a smile.
Yeah. Amazing.
Perfect shift.
Yeah. Incredible. So, navigator, rally driver, in fact, we have this discussion as to which is more technical, you know, which is a debate, which is more technical, Formula One or WRC, and maybe slightly biased, although I'm a fan of both.
Yes.
But I think WRC is completely, you have to be on your toes from the word go. An F1 car, you know, you're driving at a higher speed, you're going around corners fast, but the corners, the road is all constant. Apart from, of course, tire degradation.
You don't need any navigation.
Yeah. And of course, trying to pass people. But in a rally car, especially on the Safari, the car is never still. You're hopping up and down, you know. The car is being thrown from right to left. You could travel over the same piece of road in a different sector of the road. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This time you were on the left. This time you're on the right. So the preparation for the corner is different. All these calculations are going on in your head. And so I think WRC is probably a little more technical than F1.
So 11 seconds generally won't affect their...
Well, this is Safari. If this was any other event, the game over. But this is the Safari. So one bad mud storm where people get stuck in a mud hole. One bad rocky garden.
Yes.
And changes everything. So I think by the end of today, end of Sleeping Warrior 2 today, the end of day, we'll have an idea. That is not to negate tomorrow's stages. Tomorrow's stages are also very dramatic. And we are in the rainy season.
Especially Hell's Gate, eh?
Yes, and could also be wet. So it's not over. It's not over until we get back to the podium.
There's this, I'll call it a competition or just friendly competition.
Yeah.
Or a bit of fun that we had last year. And you warned us about having it, even though you participated in it.
Yeah.
Eventually, it was... This year, I've predicted that Kalarov and Pera will win the rally. I did that yesterday morning. I put in my so quote unquote my bet. I'm hinging on him. Earlier, when we spoke off camera, you mentioned who you think will win. I don't want to mention on your behalf. Are you still there, or who do you think will win this rally?
Being somebody who is in the sport, I have some maybe soft spots for some of the guys.
Yes.
I'm definitely a Toyota fan. I have supported Toyota since the days of Juha Kankkunen, since the days of Bjorn Waldegard, the late. So I'm a Toyota fan.
Yes.
But I would really like Thierry Neuville to have some good luck. He's I think one of the most experienced rally drivers.
Yes.
Probably one of the most successful rally drivers who has never won the WRC Drivers' Championship. So I think he's due. You know, when you put in the time, you know, they say like work. If you put in the work, you're due the success.
Yes.
I think Thierry is due the success. He's stuck with Hyundai, and it just seems that it doesn't come together for him for whatever reason. So I am a Toyota fan.
Yes.
I'd like any of the Toyota drivers to win, but I definitely am rooting for Thierry. I hope Thierry can do well.
So you hope, but do you think he'll win?
You know, I don't know. This is
so
Safari.
You're dying with him?
This is Safari. I don't know, yeah.
Ah, that's cool. Yeah. Wonderful stuff. Now, Sleeping Warrior. They're heading there.
Yeah.
Sleeping Warrior 1.
Very tough stage.
And yes, that's where we ended our first session. There was a debate about Carl Tundo saying Kedong is for him the toughest stage. But he's a bit of a lone ranger in that, because most people say Sleeping Warrior. And in an interview, Takamoto Katsuta, this morning session, said that he reckons Sleeping Warrior is, and I want to quote him now,
terrible.
Horrible.
I think Carl is a very experienced driver here in Kenya, which means, and this is my assumption, I could be wrong, I think he knows Sleeping Warrior very well. He knows where to push and he knows where not to push. So maybe for him, he feels it's not it's an event, it's a stage that he can motor through at a relatively high speed with relatively little consequences. Everybody else thinks that Sleeping Warrior is a terrible stage. It's the kind of stage that can rain. It's a long stage, rocks lacking in the bushes, meaning you just need to get off your line slightly to get your tires shredded. So it's a tough stage. And if there's rain down there, you know, I feel for the drivers in the cars. It's a tough stage.
I'm actually on the WRC FIA's, the FIA World Rally Championship Facebook page right now.
Yeah.
And it says that, and I quote, Elfyn Evans has plummeted from 2nd to 5th overall after he was forced to stop and change a wheel during Saturday's opening stage at Soisambu. End of quote. So you can see there the effects of a guy who started so well in the morning. He was actually 2nd placed, wasn't he?
I think if Evans can just keep his cool, these times are obviously not the gaps that you have in any other WRC event. But this is the Safari. Anything can happen. Keep your cool, keep motoring. You know, you never know by end of day where he lies, yeah?
Yes.
The guys in front can catch the trouble. You know, we say that in the Safari, everybody catches trouble. It's just a matter of where you're going to catch it. And so, you know, if you're very unlucky, the guys at the top have had, I mean, Kale's had a trouble-free run.
Yes.
Not wishing him anything, but you never know. You never know. Although, a bit scaringly for everybody else, Kale has shown some he's shown some experience beyond his years by the pace that he's going at today.
Yes.
He's not driving like yesterday. In fact, he lost some time in the stages, I think 7 seconds to Neuvel. And so
which he can afford to lose.
Of course, he's almost a minute ahead.
Yes.
But that is thinking that must take place. That is planning that must take place. That I'm a minute ahead. Do I need to drive at 110% or 100%? No, maybe I can drive at 75%. Because a minute is, as much as it's not a long time in Safari, it's still a minute.
It's still a minute.
So everybody else has to be driving at that 100% to try and catch him. He can play the waiting game today.
Yes.
Keep the car safe, keep the car happy, and you never know what happens.
So it's a bit like boxing.
It is,
definitely. Let me hold, and I'll push in the 4th round or something and knock this guy out in the 6th.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have to get to the 11th round.
You have to pace yourself.
You have to pace yourself. They do that in soccer as well.
I like
press high.
I think for Kenya, the better analogy is marathon. Where at, you know, kilometer 10, Eliud decides, now I'm going to kill these guys. So he ups his pace, you know, starts running at a, 800-meter pace.
Oh, God.
For, maybe 5Ks. By that time, he has dropped the whole field.
Yes.
So maybe that's what Kale did yesterday. You know, he decided, especially Kedong, 11 seconds faster than anybody else. So that was his 10 kilometers of Eliud, yeah? Now he's ahead.
Yes.
Everybody else has to catch up.
So today he can cool run.
So today he can go back to his normal pace, you know, watch what everybody else is doing. And everybody else has to drive that much faster in worse conditions to try and catch up. So it's all about management and figuring out what you want to do.
Wow. So there's still hope for Elfyn Evans.
But he's thinking beyond his years. He's still a very young man.
And for Kala, so he knows what he's doing.
Exactly. You know, young men are hot-blooded.
Yeah.
The car is working.
Yeah, that's my concern about him.
The pace is there, so it's actually very difficult for him to tone it down slightly. Yeah.
2 fair points you've made there that sort of intertwine. There's hope for Elfyn Evans, even after dropping some seconds, or because of issues beyond his control.
Exactly,
And then for Kala Rovanpera, for issues within his control, he's also dropped strategic.
No rally
so
driver
they're playing around time,
No rally driver wants to drive slower. They want to drive faster, especially when things are working.
Yes.
So I'm sure, Haltunen is in the car telling him, no, you don't need to cut that corner that fast, This, take it a bit more easier.
Yes.
And so, he's got a minute in hand. The other guys are the ones who have to up their game to close that minute. So that is experience. That is showing a good head on his shoulders.
Okay, just to deviate a bit, but very important. Yesterday, obviously, we paid our tributes to the late Kenjiro Shinozuka, who passed on the 18th, Monday the 18th of this month.
Yes.
And apart from being a navigator, you've been a rally fan from way back in the day. And these are probably some of the guys who inspired you into rallying. Shinozuka, the great Japanese rally driver.
I remember him fondly driving the Mitsubishi Galant before they became Evolutions. They were called there was the Charisma, there was the Galant, and he drove those for quite a while and quite successfully. So, condolences to his family and to all fans and friends. He was a great part of the Safari Rally story.
Yes.
And I'm sure will be remembered fondly by all.
Brilliant. Now that you've taken us to our next point, which I want us to touch on rather briefly, the Skoda vehicle.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand. They know of Ford, they know of Hyundai, they know of Toyota, but this Skoda vehicle, people don't know whether it's actually a vehicle brand on its own, or it's some Toyota Skoda.
No.
You know what I mean? Hyundai Skoda. Yeah.
Skoda is a car that came out of the former Soviet Union states, if I'm not wrong. I think the Czech Republic now, and has been in operation for many years. And so what you're seeing now, I mean, I think...
Kajetanovic.
Yeah, just even rally cars generally. I think Skoda is one of the more popular WRC 2 car, and even just national rally car. I mean, we've had Skodas here. People like the Rise have driven Skodas. Manvir Baryan has driven Skodas. So Skoda is a car on its own. Been here for a long time. It's a European mark. And they seem to have found a niche in rallying. And so, but also in Europe, there are cars that are, I mean, it's like any other car. I was very surprised one of my first trips to Europe, and I saw that, you know, the cars there, the number of makes that they have there. We are very, I think we lean towards Japan quite a lot, but there are so many marks that exist that are not here. So it's a brilliant car. Skoda has shown that it's a car that rallies well in the national championship, and it seems the package that they give their customers is a good one. So
and actually Kajetanovic, whom I've just mentioned earlier, is doing quite well on WRC too.
Yeah. He was here last year.
Skoda, and he's second placed.
Yeah, he won that competition last year. So
WRC2, yes, with the Skoda.
With the Skoda, yeah.
Yes.
And so he looks like he's enjoying himself. Safari, like I say, it's a brilliant event for the visitors.
Yes.
They not only come to enjoy the rallying, but they enjoy the scenery. You know, the top guys, Neuvel and who are all in the Mara 2-3 days before the event, and so they're really enjoying their time here in Kenya.
Sticking to the vehicles, but now another aspect, the mechanic side.
Yeah.
We have this guy, he's an old guy, he died about 96 years of age last year, and he's a Kenyan veteran mechanic. His name was Mr. O.S. Butler.
Okay.
Do you know of the Butler family and their contribution to the mechanic side of things in Safari Rally?
You'll have to teach me today. I'm not aware.
Okay, good. He used to really be into fixing vehicles and that sort of thing. And at some point, he was involved in the Safari Rally in fixing vehicles with his late son, Sammy Butler. Yeah, so you may not remember Sammy because he died years ago. But his father, O.S. Butler, lived for quite a while. So I thought maybe having been a navigator, you may have come across the name at least.
Today you have trumped me.
No.
You have trumped me. I have not heard of the Butlers.
No, it's not a competition. I haven't trumped you. It's just about sharing knowledge.
Yeah. In fact, when you were talking about that, I thought you were talking about Jim Heather Hayes, who also passed away last year, I think. And the description that you gave was Jim Heather Hayes.
Wow.
And so, yeah, he was a legend, a driver.
Was it his sister or wife was into rally driving as well?
No, himself.
It's himself.
He was he started off rallying as
yes, himself. He was a rally driver. I know, but was his sister or wife involved?
No.
In rallying.
Jim Heather Hayes was the driver. Started off as a driver in the days of the old Safari.
Yes.
And then up till recently, up till his death, he was a mechanic. And he serviced the car for Ian Duncan, if I'm not wrong. He was famous for his work with shock absorber systems.
Yes.
So, I mean, he was part of we grew up with his name. You know, Jim Heather Hayes in the old days was
I remember.
Drove what was called chase cars. I don't know whether you understand the concept of chase cars. A chase car in the old days.
In matters of presidential security protocol,
no.
I know what a chase car is.
Rally car, chase car. In the old days, you know, today service only your cars in the service park.
Yes.
In the old days, because you are traveling
all
far
over
away,
the place, yes.
The teams would bring, for every competition car, they would bring another identical car. And that car's work was to carry the parts. And that car's work was to chase the rally car. And that's why they were called chase cars. Meaning,
Yes.
Vic Preston would be in front in his Toyota, and Jim Heather Hayes would be behind him in a completely identical car. So that when Preston's car broke down, the chase car would catch up with them, and whatever that part that had broken down, they would remove from the chase car.
Yes.
And that's why they were called chase cars.
But there was also Mary Heather Hayes back in the day, the pioneer rally drivers.
Okay, could be his
Could
mother.
that have been his mom?
That could be his mother, yeah.
Whom I thought maybe was a sister or a wife, but yeah.
Could be his mother. Could be his mother, yeah. Yeah, could be
and
his
she was co-driven by Lucille Cardwell.
That could be his mother, probably his mother, yes. But definitely before my time.
Oh, okay, yes, yes. And obviously there was Mary Wright and Juanita Barton. These were the pioneer
Safari drivers.
Kenyan ladies who got into rallying. We're talking of years ago, decades ago.
Yes. Even Rob Collins. Rob Collins, famously of the Kenya Jew Range Rover. His mother used to be involved in motorsport.
Yes.
In the olden days, there was quite a lot of motorsport that occurred, especially around what is now called Langa Langa. And in fact, I think Langa Langa, yes, in Nakuru.
Yes, in Nakuru.
Langa Langa came from the name, the cars, yeah? And there were even hill climbs that they would do in, I think, Red Hill. And we're talking about maybe the 50s, the 40s. At the Simba Union Club, they used to have motorcycle competitions. This is in the 1930s, 1940s. They are old pictures. So motorsport is not new. It's not a new concept here in Kenya. It was started quite a long time ago. I think the Langa Langa truck even, we are probably talking in the 1920s. I think I have seen a picture of a Model T Ford. Model T Ford is a vehicle that was, I think, operating in the 1920s. And I've seen a picture of a Model T Ford watching a race at Langa Langa. And so that must be in the region of 1920, 1930s.
Okay, before we now touch on the Talanta Motorsports Academy, you remember last year we were actually vouching for such academy to be formed, and we concluded our rally with that clarion call, that, and then a year later we have that. Just to wrap up on families that have been involved in this sort of thing. The Gatimos. There's young Tinashe and her mom Caroline.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
First of all, big up to them. I'd like to wish them all the best. I was actually in school with Caroline Gatimo.
Really?
Yes, we
Classmates,
were in primary school together. I think I was ahead of her.
What primary school was that? Nairobi Primary School. Yes,
so,
okay.
Very big up for her. This is transition we are watching. This is handing over the mantle to the new generation. I think one of the key problems we have globally, not just Africa, is transition. We never prepare for transition, be it in politics, be it in sport.
Business.
So what Caroline and her husband Mindo are doing, amazing, amazing. Tinashe, we wish you all the best. I'm really praying that you're the next Michel Mouton. And hopefully you guys get a good finish on this event. Put it in the bag for the experience. So, yeah, you know, transition, Talanta Hella, the Rallying Academy, the Sports Academy, this is about that. If you look at the teams that who do well globally, McLaren F1 signed Hamilton when he was 14. You know, they signed him when he was 14. He came up through the ranks up to Formula One. If you look at the football teams, Kenyans love football. Manchester United has a junior team, has how many junior teams? Has an academy.
They have an academy.
Of guys who start off there age 9. Age 9, excuse me.
Yes.
Age 9, through their teams, they go to school and they play football. So by the time you're looking at the Anthonys, you know, by the time you're looking at the, you know, the stars who are scoring goals for the first team, these guys have been part of that ecosystem for a very long time. So anything has to be about that preparation. And that preparation starts when you're young, you know, and it's obvious when you see guys winning top championships, you know, they don't look like they're surprised because they know they were due it, you know, they've put in the work, they've started this thing off as they were children. And so Talanta Hella and the Sports Academy is definitely working in the right direction. Wish them all the best.
But we have a problem when we start off very well. We know how to launch this kind of things.
Yeah.
But then the management, the running of the thing in the mid and long term becomes an issue. Is that an area that should concern us right now?
Well, you know, we are human beings and we live in the society that we have. And, you know, because things have happened in the past, we can't also say that they will happen in the future. You know, I say the ball has started rolling. When the ball comes to you, kick it, you know. You do your part and let the others worry about theirs. It's a very good concept. It's a good project. It's a step in the right direction. Kudos to CS Babu. And, you know, let's support him where we can. You know, I always say, you know, Safari is ours.
Yes.
Safari doesn't belong to any one individual. You know, if Safari fails, Kenya fails. You know, if Safari does well, we do well. So I know we all want Kenya to do well. So, you know, let's wacha tuwaunge mkono, you know, let them do well. And so if you can have young guys coming up through those kind of schemes, you know, the future of sport in this country is you know, it's bright. So we have hope. I would say let's just stick to it. Of course, everything is tweaking. Everything is tweaking. Before we went on air, we were talking about Proton and Nyayo Pioneer. You know, Nyayo Pioneer was sort of laughed out of existence because of various reasons. It wasn't a very good car. Neither was Proton at that time. But you see, that was version 1. Think about Windows 98. You know, you get version 1. Version 1 is the base. Now you start to tweak it. 1.2, 1.3, version 2. So if Nyayo Pioneer was still in operation, this would be what, 30, 40 years down the line, we'd be talking about version what? 4 or 5 years ago, Carl Tundo and Alistair Kavanagh were importing Protons from Proton, the same car that started off life with Nyayo Pioneer. They were importing them into Kenya because they were building top flight rally cars, you know. So when you start, let's accept that you start at the bottom. You don't start at the top.
Yes.
Start at the bottom and you have a goal. You must keep going to this goal, regardless of what's going on right now. Keep going to the goal. The academy has started now, and of course we can all say why it's not perfect. But it's a step in the right direction. If we all hold hands and all put in our positive input, where will it be in 30 years? You know? What
sort of features would you expect as a rally navigator and enthusiast to see when you go there for a visit? They are only here in Kasarani, like a museum, for example, 1 or 2 statues of someone like Patrick Njiru, with a summary, just a brief summary of who he is, what he achieved in rallying, to inspire these 9-year-olds you're talking of who are coming into...
And this is something that even KBC can play a role in, because I'm sure you guys, your archives are rich. I hope you have all the old tapes and all the old footage that you have taken all through the years. That is something that needs to be collated, maybe even sold as tapes or, I mean, as CDs, because I can imagine the wealth of information that is kept in the you know, archives of KBC, of VOK. You know, we used to watch it when it was VOK. And so,
Voice of Kenya.
Exactly. So
the precursor to KBC.
The precursor is still KBC.
It's still KBC,
but you see, in fact, going back to what I was saying, VOK was version 1.
Yes.
You know, KBC now is version 2. So can only get better. If some of that footage can be collated to be used in all these, you know, the new platforms that we have digital format today. I mean, first of all, it can be a stream of revenue for you guys because you can sell them. But that will be now the connection with the past. You know, a lot of that stuff is available on YouTube. I mean, amateurs put it together. But video and clips and audio like that could be placed in such an academy.
Yes.
So that at least you know where we have come from. You know, they say you don't know where you are until you know where you've come from.
Yes.
Or you don't know where you're going. So that is a good suggestion. And I'm happy you're the one who has suggested it, because you guys are the keepers of that history. You know, you guys have every record here. And so I would also like to see more exposure, especially even to the counties, you know, to the colleges, to the polytechnics.
So you have more branches of the same.
Exactly.
What you have in Kasarani, you take to the counties.
Programs started out in the counties that could also, you know, help the youngsters who are out there. You know, I always say that when you expose, when you have a larger pool of people is when you find the stars. If you go to SA, everybody in SA plays golf. Golf is not an elite game the way it's seen here in Kenya. And that's why you find guys who want really on the trajectory of playing golf, start finding golf. Because a game like golf, and probably most games, there's usually some born affinity towards it. You know what I mean?
That's
somebody
why
who has a natural
win
talent.
The Kenya Open,
exactly.
And we're not winning it.
Somebody who has a natural talent. But that guy could live in a place where there's no golf.
Yes.
So if you expose them to all these things, you're going to find the guys who have the natural talent, you know. And what happens in 10 years? What happens in 5 years? And one thing we must do is have a long view. Let's not have the short view we have. Just because it didn't work in 4 years, maybe it's going to work in year 5, you know. So let's have a long view. Let's expose as many people as possible to all these different types of sports. And you never know when we find our star. And they're out there. I can assure you they're out there.
And funny, one thing is that also last year, we spoke about e-gaming in relation to the Safari Rally. And I saw they've got those e-gaming machines at the Talanta Motorsports Academy. So it's a way also of making the learning process fun for kids.
Exactly. You know, a lot of times also the drivers, even Formula One drivers use simulators. And what are those e-games basically? They are simulators. So you are stepping in the right direction. You're starting to feel in that way. You're starting to understand how things work. And so it's, in fact, yesterday we were driving back and my friend Leo and his son were telling us how they had gone to the village market and were driving. There's an F1 simulator there. And so we were asking the boys, so do you think you can beat us? And you know, the two boys, without even batting an eyelid, said, you Muzes will chopper you anytime. So expose these young guys, and they take it to places where us oldies would not even think about. But it's all about that transition.
And even that e-gaming, it's not just for the kids, because even established rally drivers like Kala Rovanpera, he would benefit from it. You told me they have instinct training. Yes, that helps, doesn't it?
This
the
reflex training.
The reflex training.
And Kala, if I'm not wrong, has taken part in esports. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's done esports and he's very good at it. So these are just the new mediums, the new forums.
So this thing is like a treadmill in its own way.
It is. Any sort of exposure you can get, it just bodes well for you when you actually get in that
Before
car.
you get onto the racetrack,
exactly. You have an idea what's going on.
You treadmill on on the e-game machines.
Most people new to rallying will tell you, when they got in that car, there was a lot of hype. Yes, we are going to rally, you put on your helmet and you really feel good about it. But when you're in that car and the red numbers are going from 5, 4, 3, is when you start asking yourself serious questions. You know, what am I doing here? Am I cut out for this? So the more exposure you have to it, the more you can see whether it's on a simulator or not, what's going to happen, the better for you. You know, as we learned in the old days when there was no esports,
these facilities,
there was no academy. We entered our car, our first rally car was a Golf VW GTI. We entered, me and Leo, all we had was hat. We had Rojo. We keep saying till today all we had was Rojo. But,
and you finished?
The first rally, did we finish? I think we finished, but we got so lost, you know. I think I was lost from the first go. But that was version 1, like you keep saying.
So whose fault was it? You as the navigator?
Both of us. Of course, navigation is direction is a navigator's work.
Yes.
But you can't take an average Kenyan kid out of a middle-class home, put him in a rally car and expect him to call notes like Martin Yaveova, can you? No. I have to learn. So it's I think also people need to, first of all, enjoy it.
Yes.
Don't do something because others are doing or you want to get in it and then it's uncomfortable. You know, do it, enjoy it first of all. You must enjoy it. If you are enjoying it, then it's not like work. It's not like something difficult. You are enjoying it. And every challenge you'll meet, it'll be a learning experience. It's not like if you enter and it's stressful and you're shouting at each other. I mean, I've seen crews. You have seen crews even almost come to blows. And you ask, man, are you guys, first of all, enjoying this? Is this something you want to do, or did circumstance throw you together? It's very important, first of all, your friends, and you know, the basic thing you're doing here is having fun first. You know, if we do a good time, if we do a good run, all the better. But the main thing is we're having fun.
Yep, this is day 3 of the FIA WRC Safari Rally Kenya edition 2024. Saturday's itinerary, local time, the first vehicle was flagged off at 8:01 a.m. today. That was at Soisambu 1, which is a 29.32 kilometer stretch. And the second stage, 9:05 a.m., that's when the first vehicle was flagged off. Elementaita 1, which is much shorter than the previous stage, is 15.08 kilometers. And then there was the third stage, which is actually been more or less sorted out right now by the drivers, if they haven't finished it already. Sleeping Warrior 1, 36.08 kilometers. And then we are looking at what's in store, Kego, in the afternoon. You've got Soisambu 2, 29.32 kilometers. You've got Elementaita 2, 15.08 kilometers. And you've got Sleeping Warrior 2, 36.08 kilometers. So Soisambu 1, Soisambu 2, same stretch in terms of kilometers. Same for Elementaita 1 and Elementaita 2, Sleeping Warrior 2. Sleeping Warrior 1 and Sleeping Warrior 2, I beg your pardon. So all same range.
Yeah, it's the same
in
three
terms
stages.
Of, it's the same stages.
Same 3 stages looped. You do them twice.
So, do you do them the other way round,
no.
or you do them the same way you did them?
Exactly the same way. Exactly the same way.
So what's the idea of doing behind doing the same stage twice?
This is modern rallying. This is how it is. That's why there are those the non-purists, or the purists, let's say, who complain that, it has become small, it has become short. But I'm telling you, man, you jump in one of those cars and do Sleeping Warrior and tell me whether it was a short stage. It's still very tough. Very tough, very, very, very difficult. Of course, you can't compare it with 5,000 kilometers in 5 days. But transition again, evolution again. Those days are gone. We are rallying in this dispensation. I can assure you, 2 loops of those 3 stages, you're finished by the end of the day. You're completely finished.
Physically?
Oh, yes. Completely finished and mentally. Yes. And then if you add that you've had problems, you've had to get out of the car to fix punctures, you've had to get out of the car to push, maybe if you're stuck in mud, it's crazy. It's terrible.
Because it comes to 160 stage kilometers in total.
Yes. And as the cars pass, the road changes. Even if there's no rain. If there's no rain, the cars, the roads get more rutted. If there's rain, even worse.
160 kilometers.
Yeah, if there's rain, you could have water sitting, meaning what you could see, you can no longer see. And you come up to a stretch where you knew it was slow rocks, suddenly it's covered by water, you can't see the rocks. What happens?
And it's amazing. When you talk of the surface, because yesterday I noticed they had like poured sand on some areas. I think there had been light showers, so it's a bit slippery.
Yesterday the stage in Kedong, is obviously the surface of the road has been altered, because that is all fesh-fesh. You remember fesh-fesh?
What's fesh-fesh?
Fesh-fesh is like, the texture is exactly like unga wangano.
Oh.
But this is muchanga, meaning that when 1 or 2 cars goes through it, it actually acts like water. It can actually hold you, it can stick you like water. So what they have done, they have put maram on top of it and some kokoto, some rocks, so that the road at least condition becomes passable. Because once 3, 4, 5, 10 cars go over a fesh-fesh section, you're driving over unga, you're driving over the texture of unga. You come out, you step out of the car and the unga comes up half your leg. It's that soft. So you can imagine driving in that stuff. And that's why they have to fix the roads. They have to try and fix the roads. Also, you don't want all the cars to get stuck. You remember in the first event, the first safari in 2 years ago, Kale got stuck in the fesh-fesh.
2021?
Yes. Kale got stuck in the fesh-fesh. He had to be towed out by one of the quick response vehicles. So...
is that why he didn't win the safari?
Yeah. But also his first time in Kenya.
In 2021, yeah.
First time they had driven in fesh-fesh. In fact, fesh-fesh became a very popular term that year, because they had never heard of it. Fesh-fesh is unique to Kenya.
I've never heard of it as well.
Fesh-fesh is a rallying term, they'll tell you. You never heard the term fesh-fesh?
No.
Fesh-fesh is a rallying term. It describes that surface that has turned into almost flour.
Yes.
And so conditions are terrible. It gets in all your intakes, it just disturbs everything, can hold the car. You stop in that, you stick, you're like in water. And if it's grabbed the bottom of the car, you're not going anywhere.
So the WRC Safari Rally resumed in 2021 after a 19-year hiatus. We had been relegated to the African Rally Championship, but then we went back up again after a lot of persuasion from the government of Kenya. At the time was led by President Uhuru Kenyatta. So we also pay our gratitude to the previous president, the immediate previous president, for getting us back onto the World Rally Championship calendar.
And don't forget Phineas Kimathi and his team. Yeah, those guys came in with a very, with a very clear plan of what they wanted. And I can assure you, the first time he made his speech when he became chairman of KMSF and stated that one of his goals, in fact, top priority of his goals, was going to be WRC Safari status. You know, many people didn't think he was being serious. But here we are.
And Ambassador Amina as well. She was
they all
CS
put
for
in
sports
lots
at
of
the time.
time, lots of campaigning, lots of effort. It wasn't easy.
No,
I took part in some of those meetings.
Okay,
I mean,
what was that like?
It wasn't easy. We had to make a lot of assurances as to, finances, as to manpower. We sent a lot of people for training with the FIA. A lot of the guys you see on the route with the reflector jackets have actually received specialized training. They're not just volunteers in the way you think of a volunteer was collected from somewhere. These are guys who've traveled far away to observe events. They have taken part in trainings. They have certifications for that training. So all that happened behind the scenes before the event came to Kenya. And so those are the guys who really, and there were setbacks. It wasn't a smooth run.
Oh, yes, definitely.
There were setbacks.
And
so,
obstacles.
Exactly. But they learned from them. They made them stronger. They made them even more determined to have the event here in Kenya. But I can assure you, even the promoter himself, with the numbers that he sees, of the viewership, of the following, of the interest in WRC after Safari came back, he knows that effort was an effort that needed to be done. There's no other event like Safari.
I agree with you.
Let's not pat ourselves too much.
If you look at the viewership from last year, the WRC site itself, that's online. How many people, I mean, we're talking of hundreds of millions, or if not a billion.
Hundreds of millions, and probably a billion.
Yeah, it hit a billion mark,
I say that, humility is a concept that is required here. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Safari Rally, there is no event like this one. None. The pictures that you see, the scenery, what the cars have to go through. I was listening to something online, and they were saying that, if the teams told the truth, second to winning the World Championship, the feather that they want in their hat is top podium position in the Safari. Because, there's no other event like this. It's been like this since it started.
How much does it cost to organize? I know the government sets aside like just over $1 billion Kenya shillings in its budget for this event. But does the WRC chip in? Or the FIA as the organizers?
I think the effect and the returns that this event brings to this country, tourism in the 1990s in Kenya was largely driven by the pictures that were seen from the WRC. The most mainstream media want to only portray Africa in a certain way. So for these 5 days, the pictures that are coming out of Africa and Kenya in particular are top flight motorsport. And because this top flight motorsport is taking part in the most beautiful surroundings, what are they doing? They are marketing us. How do you put a number on that? How much did it cost? How much do you think it costs to have BBC, CNN, you name them, minutes and minutes and minutes of Kenyan scenery? If you said, let's remove the car, let's remove the helicopters and whatever, what's behind that? What is the canvas that they're using to paint these pictures of the WRC Safari? It's Kenya. And this is marketing that if we had to go and pay for it, I mean, that money they're spending for the event is probably, if it gets to a quarter of what this would have cost us, I'd be very surprised.
It's a drop in the ocean.
Number two, how do you quantify somebody sitting in, let's say, cold England or cold the US, looking at the weather here and thinking, right, I had planned to go to the Maldives or whatever. I'm changing my arrangements. I want to go to Kenya in December, or I want to go, when is the next safari? When is the date for next year? I want to go to Kenya during that time. How do you quantify that effect for the country? I think it's only good. It's only amazing. So this event may cost a lot, but good things usually do. If you want to get A's, you put in the work. You have a lot of time behind your books, So Safari is, I think, I would say, one of, if not the most amazing things that puts Kenya on the map. I think this is it. This is it. This is like having a Formula One event. This is, we call rallying gravel Formula One. So can you imagine? This is the top flight of this sport, taking part here in Kenya.
So we were losing a lot of money when we were off the WRC circuit.
Completely, and the fans all over the world.
Yes.
When we were not in the WRC, yes, WRC used to occur, but everybody knew in their hearts. If you asked them, and without cameras or anything if you ask them. They knew. You can't call it a WRC without Africa. Africa is, what, the second largest continent? So how do you have a World Rally Championship and you have not come to Africa? Right, we want to come to Africa. Where in Africa is Safari?
Kenya.
Kenya. So this was the feather in the cap for the WRC, not only for us Kenyans, but for the WRC itself. WRC needed Africa and needed Kenya. And the pictures, the following, the competition have all shown that this was the perfect decision. In fact, there's a clip where they show the drivers and asking them what they feel about Safari. And Otanak at the end of it said, I think this was a great decision to come to Kenya, to come to Africa. So, you know, we really need to be very proud of this. This is cutting edge. There's nothing more better than this in the whole world in terms of the level. You know, this is the top level of this sport. And you can imagine the kind of finances.
It's like the Rallying World Cup.
Exactly, it is. I would call it. We are part of the Rallying World Cup, actually.
Yes, it is.
And in that World Cup, we are the most unique. We are the most spectacular. You know, we are the most photogenic. So we really need to be. We need to really pat ourselves on the back, of course, with humility, but be very proud of this event. And when it started back in those 71 years ago, it was almost a joke. You know,
I know
it was a joke.
The idea popped up in over a drink.
Exactly. Again, going back to my theme, that was version 1.
Version 1.
Look what it is today. It's a brilliant event. You have, you know, even I watched a clip of Rich Milner, a team boss, Ford, saying he doesn't get a chance to go out. But here in Kenya, he's made an effort to go out. Helicopter has dropped him in the stage and he's watching his guys. And he's saying, it's just amazing. You know,
so
just amazing.
You say it's a bigger deal for WRC than it is for us.
It's a big deal.
Do they chip in? Do they help? You know, on the financial side of things to make this possible, like for such an event.
I don't think they chip in financially, but you know, they give us the canvas.
Okay.
You know, if somebody gives you the canvas in order to do something for yourself, you can also quantify it in terms of money, but they give you the canvas. You know, like I keep saying, Africa in the media, we know how they report. It's as soon as there's a small fire somewhere, they fly here to report that fire. Now here we are, 1 week of top flight rallying, and I don't know what the numbers are this year, but I'm sure they'll exceed last year. And the discussion is not about the usual topics. The discussion is top flight rallying. What is Kale doing today? What is Kale doing today in Soisambu? You know, what did Noivelle do yesterday in Kedong? You know, our African names, our Kenyan names. We really need to be very, very proud.
And the wildlife as they drive past.
That is just the icing on the cake, you know? Icing on the cake. The teams were in the Mara, and the pictures of them, of course, they post on their social media. I'm sure they have social media managers who post for them. But the pictures of them in the balloons, in the Mara, I was a bit unhappy. I thought they should have gone to Mombasa because they've been in the wildlife thing for a while. Yeah. They should take them down to the coast and let the world know that we also have a brilliant coastline.
You'll be glad to know our very own Bernard Okumu and a camera crew accompanied them there to the Mara.
Oh, very good, very good.
They covered them nicely.
Exactly.
They were sending stuff even on WhatsApp. So, I mean, the information was getting to you whether you like it or not.
I hope next year they take them to, or maybe after the event, take them to the coast. Because one of the things that is not really talked about a lot is the fact that Kenya has probably one of the most amazing coastlines, you know. It's not a lot of people know about it outside Kenya. We Kenyans know. But take them down to Diani, I mean, that's just more people planning to come to Kenya. So amazing. We need to use this WRC as an effort to paint ourselves in the most beautiful light that we can.
Okay. Yeah. How about the Kenya National Rally Championship? Like, say, you want to organize Equator Rally, Guru Nanak Rally. How much does it take to organize one such rally?
Well, when KCB was a long-time supporter of the KNRC, and I think the clubs were given about 2.5–3 million shillings to run the event. Then the drivers would pay an entry fee of about 25,000 bob. So I think all that collectively went to running the event.
And navigators, do they pay a fee? Or the driver covers? The driver's fee covers both.
Driver's fee means the driver pays. We don't get paid. This is
the driver pays, but do you as a navigator also pay a fee?
Well, depending. When we started off rallying, me and Leo, we were both self-sponsored, meaning that he removed money from my own pocket to buy my first suit, My first rally suit, in fact, I got from Patrick Giroux at a very discounted price. It was a very old suit, but I still have it. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick is one of the guys who supported us. I think even the helmet was from Patrick. So in those days, you buy your own stuff because you are self-sponsored. But when you get a sponsor, then of course the sponsor, part of the money that the sponsor gives you goes to those items. You know, you have to buy a competition license, you have to have an AAR cover, you have to have a couple of other things. And those cost money.
And you said the driver would pay 25,000 shillings to participate
to enter the team.
To enter the team. The team. Okay,
yeah,
now
the
that's
team,
what I needed
yeah,
to.
Yeah, the team pays that as an entry. On the Safari is 50,000 shillings. So that is your entry fee. Now, when you have entered, you also must have your competition licenses together. You must have all your kit together, you know. So it costs. It costs. And the KNRC is is completely non-professional. We are all amateurs. You know, the difference between an amateur and a professional is the professional gets paid. Amateurs here, we are all, the KNRC is full of amateurs. Mindo, Tinashe, all these guys, what they do, they go and look for supporters. But they are the ones who pay the cost. They don't get paid for it. You know, if you're given a check of maybe 2 million shillings by your sponsor, and from your costs, mubakishe maybe 10,000, sasa unaweza sema hiyo umelipwa 10K. But at the end of the day, you know, we are all non-professional. The thing that pays us is the value of taking part. You know, I have trophies from safaris that I did in our early days of rallying. Beautiful trophies of big elephants I put on my mantelpiece. And I'm sure when I'm old and grey, I will be telling my son, you see, I used to do something.
So it doesn't take an arm and a leg to organize a local event like the Equator Rally, and
it's not an arm and a leg, but 3 million shillings did quite a bit of money.
Yes.
And a lot of the guys are volunteers. You need to organize. Organization is very difficult because you can imagine you're talking about a marshal. For example, if you're in let's say in Kajiado, organizing a rally in between Ilbisil and Paranay, you need marshals to go there. You need to organize their transport. You need to organize, are they in the right place? You know, a marshal could be sent to kilometer 10 of the Ilbisil Paranay stage. Does he know where kilometer 10 is? A lot of the times you're using the local marshals, the local guys. Do they know anything about rallying? So organizing a rally is very difficult, very tough. In fact, the organizers have a very tough time. They need more money. But that's the money that's available, and that's how they do it.
Which is the toughest local Kenyan rally? Is it the Equator Rally? Is it the Guru Nanak Rally? Is it?
Toughness comes with I think with the club. You know, we have the regional clubs. Traditionally, we've had the Rift Valley Motorsports Club, which is run out of Solai in Nakuru. And that one, I remember doing an event where we went around Lake Bogoria, which was a real killer. That was a real killer. You know, the events are done by the club.
What's killer about it?
Was very rough, very rocky, and very long.
Lake Bogoria, that's in Baringo.
Yes, yes. And we started off in Nakuru, so you can imagine. I remember in the old days, we'd be flagged off outside a KCB bank.
Yes.
Because they were the key sponsor. So you did a bit of transport, maybe to Marigat. And then from Marigat, you got into the Sisal farm and all the way around the lake and back. It was quite an adventure.
But it's interesting because now when you talk of the local rally circuit, for example, the one you've just given us, and you say times have changed, rallying is being done like on the WRC calendar, it's being done in certain areas, the Soisambu area, the Elementaita, it's gone off-road.
Yeah.
But you've sort of given the impression right now that our local events are still on-road and off-road.
What has happened like is that maybe 2-3 years ago there was a rule that said that all events had to be held on quote-unquote closed roads. Now closed roads ideally you can close them on a farm. You know, ideally you can also close a public road, but a public road requires a bit of effort. You need to talk with the county officials, you need to talk with the local police, and you know, all these things will require logistics, money, which the clubs don't have. So they find it easier to find a nice big farm, talk with the farm owner, and maybe the activities on the farm of that day can be suspended, and so that the rally
pay for that.
Of course you pay.
So like how much?
I'm very not privy to it, but I think it's I think under $1 million shillings. I'm not sure. Oh. Also, it's subjective. Depends on the landowner. Yeah.
It could be a rally enthusiast.
If I'm growing a very valuable crop, maybe I'll want more money than the guy who's probably not growing a valuable crop. So it's very.
Or you can even donate your space.
Or you can donate.
Yeah.
Or you can donate. Yeah. And there are those who have donated. Yeah. You can donate.
Like who has donated?
I can't have anybody to mind, but I know that in the early days of rallying on the farms were not paid.
Okay.
You see, there are other subsidiary sort of earnings you can have. You can charge spectators to come in. You can have food stalls. All these can be done by the farm owner.
Okay.
So, yeah.
To sell their products.
To make some money out of that day.
Yeah.
But, so 2-3 years ago, you had to be on closed roads. Now, the definition of closed roads was quite debatable, but I think this year there's been one rally which has used a stage, an open road stage in Kajiado, while the other rallies actually use a lot of what is being done on the safari. Yeah? So Isambu, Sleeping Warrior are stages that we use, and that's private property, so they can close the roads. And you know, closed means that what you're doing is ensuring there are no other vehicular traffic. Yeah, but you know, you can't close the road to zebras. You can't close the road to, you know, the local wildlife. So closed road is also relative.
Okay. Yeah. I've just got this message from Daniel Wahome, who's on the ground in Naivasha. And he says, he brings in a new twist. He says, can I read out? He says, on Saturday, which is today, points will be awarded based on the general classification after the final time control. Yeah. This mid-rally reward system adds an extra layer of excitement and keeps competitors on their toes. Yeah. To secure these points, though, drivers must finish the rally on Sunday. In case of a non-finish, the points pass to the next eligible competitor. Yeah. And on Sunday, he adds this, Sunday adds another layer of drama with additional points on offer based on the individual classification of the final day's stages only. Yeah. It's like a short, intense sprint within the rally itself. This unique structure not only maintains the thrill of the competition, but also offers competitors a golden opportunity to recover from any setbacks they may have faced early in the rally. Shall we start very quickly with Saturday's points-based system and then we go on to Sunday's? Yeah, I'm a bit lost there.
It's basically, I think, on the same path as Super Rally.
Okay.
Giving something back for participation.
Okay.
You know, in the old days, if you had a factory car that was flown in from Toyota Japan, landed here, came with a crew of, I don't know, 1,000 people, had a support crew of 300 cars, 2 helicopters, and 10 kilometers from KICC, exited the rally. That car was out. There was no coming back. That was the end of it.
Yes.
So these teams and FIA also felt it's a bit unfair. Yeah? It's a bit unfair that you go to all that effort, and reap nothing out of it. So all these efforts are to try and make things a bit fairer in the sense that to reward you for participation.
Some form of incentivization.
Exactly. Reward you for taking the effort to come. So that even if you can't win, you know, this safari is part of the World Rally Championship.
Yes.
At the end of the year is when whoever scored the most points wins the championship. So what they're doing here is allowing you to say, fine, I can't win the rally for whatever reason, but I can collect X amount of points. So I go for that. It's like lower hanging fruit. So it's in the effort of giving back to even to the teams. Saying to the teams, yes, come to Kenya. You know, Kenya is very tough. Kenya is a very expensive event. They have to ship a lot of equipment, fly a lot of crew. It's not a cheap event. So what we are saying to you, you can try and win here. Yes, come here and try and win. But if you don't win, you know, there's also this other slice of cake that you can get. You can get points for your championship. And so you can change your goals. You can come, day one, your goal is to win. After you retire and are doing Super Rally, you can say, now my goal is to score as many points as possible based on this system. The only caveat is that those points only come to play if you make it to the end of day 3.
Yes, yes.
So you could score a lot of points today. What happens if you exit tomorrow? So you still have to have the old thinking of, I need to finish first.
Yeah, there's no free lunch.
There's no free lunch, They can give you some extra topping, sauce and all that. But unless you come to the table, you're not going to have that lunch. So it's a good thing. I think it's a very new thing. It has been introduced this year.
Yes.
And in keeping with Super Rally, we're giving you something. We are saying, you didn't come here to disappear.
Yeah.
There's a famous line in the safaris of old where a very well-laid plan, big crew, Razmataz's arrival, ended up in a one-liner on the bottom of the first page.
Yes.
Exited at stage, first stage of the day, which then became very demoralizing to the crews. Yeah, are we putting all this effort to come out just in gong or something, So they give them something else. They say, you're not going to go away empty-handed.
Yes.
You also have these to win.
So,
but you have to come to the end.
One of the key points to take away from our long discussion is that Kenya National Rally Championship events are now moving towards the farm-based rallying.
Yeah, no, they have been there.
They have been there for the last 3 years.
Not even three, longer.
And they've moved from off-road completely, from on-road completely.
The rule was completely.
Yes.
But, because of the debate about what is a closed road,
yes.
I can take a public road and close it, it quite conclusively. But it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort that the clubs may not have the effort or the logistics. Because if you're holding a rally far away, let's say you're holding a rally in Kajiado and you're based in Nairobi,
yes.
you need to have meetings with the chief, you need to have meetings with the local police.
Yeah.
That becomes a nightmare. So what they do, it's easier to find a farm, fenced-off farm,
yes.
which has 2 entry points. You can close that easily. So the rule was completely off-road, completely closed roads, with a bit of debate as to what is a closed road. But now I understand there is dispensation to allow for open roads, open roads that can be closed.
Yes.
Whether you want to engage in that logistics with the local authorities, that is up to the club.
Yes.
But there has been a club that has run quite successfully some events in the particular stage I'm talking about, which is 80 kilometers between Bisil and Paranay. It's a very remote area. There are not a lot of people there.
Yeah.
So it's easier. This rule all came about because we have a bigger population. We are more developed. When I started rallying, we used to rally a stage between Kajiado and Konabaridi. And that was out in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about 2007. Today, that is a suburb almost of Nairobi. There's a tarmac road and very beautiful mansions coming up there. So it's no longer a rally road. So the roads that you can actually rally on are becoming, public roads that you can rally on, becoming less and less. But the big farms are still there. Unless, of course, we decide we want to take rallying out into northeastern Kenya and places like that. So it's an evolution. Like I said, everything is evolving. You remember in those days we'd rally also 2,000-3,000 Ks. Today the safari is what? 120 Ks per day. So
yes.
It's evolution. It's evolution. We all have to change. You can't
yes,
stick
we
to
have to change with the times. That's absolutely brilliant. We've had a great discussion with Kego Karidhi, who's a rally navigator. He is very experienced in the Kenya National Rally Championship calendar. He's done one rally after the other since 2007. I'm not a rally driver. I've never been a rally navigator, but I've always been a rally enthusiast. It's time now for a bit of a break, and when transmission in studio resumes, you'll be enjoying Magical Kenya with a veteran broadcast journalist and his co-driver. I'm talking of Topi Liambili and the even more veteran Daudi Kanja. Stay with us. We're having the time of our lives. We hope you too are having the time of your lives. Earlier we had spoken about KBC previously being known as VOK, the Voice of Kenya. Well, here are the legends themselves, the guys who are in Voice of Kenya way back in the day. That's Topi Liambila and Daudi Kanja after this break. Thanks.
The true story of a man named Jesus who lived 2,000 years ago.
Who do you say I am?
You are